So I'm gonna let you go ahead since you're on here. Woo!
I will say that, well, first, thank you for having me. I'm very honored to be here.
You're
Um,
welcome.
and so, with that, I will say geographically, I was born in New Jersey. But I would say that if you were walking down the street and you were to ask me where I was from, I would probably say Georgia. Um, but
From Georgia?
yes.
Okay, perfect.
But I always do make the distinction that I was born in Atlantic City, New Jersey. Um,
Shout out to Jersey and Georgia.
right. But then mentally, I will say, I guess I've never really thought too much about this, but I come from a mindset of moral aptitude.
Hello, welcome to the Where I'm From podcast with your girl B.MARIE. Thank you for joining us again for episode number 2. We are so excited. We got a lot in store for you tonight. Be sure to like and subscribe and share to all your friends. New episodes every Monday night at 7 p.m. So hit that bell so you can get the notifications and you can stay with us. I'm super excited and beyond grateful for today's conversation on imposter syndrome and self sabotage and how it can have a negative impact on your life, keeping you from a high level of success. My guest today is so awesome. I cannot express to you how much I love this person. They are so amazing. Deandre is motivated and ambitious 22-year-old with a bachelor's degree in chemistry, specializing in biochemistry from Augusta University. Their academic journey is further enriched by minors in political science and interdisciplinary neuroscience. That's a tongue twister. Reflecting a broad, oh, I did that already. Reflecting a broad interdisciplinary foundation. Currently, Deandre is pursuing a master's degree in forensic psychology, a field that merges their passion for science, law, and human behavior. In addition to their academic pursuits, Deandre is in the current application cycle for law school, driven by a strong desire to become a criminal prosecutor. With a deep commitment to justice, they aim to use their legal knowledge to advocate for fairness, strengthening communities, and ensuring that the law serves as a tool for unity and protection. Looking to the future, Deandre harbors ambitions to enter federal law enforcement with aspirations to become a special agent for the FBI or an attorney general. Within the Department of Justice, they are focused on using their unique blend of scientific, psychological, and legal expertise to uphold justice on a national scale. Guided by a dedication to public service, Deandre seeks to make a meaningful impact through both legal prosecution and federal law enforcement roles. But the best role that they have is that they are my adult child. They are mine. So, all that other stuff, that's good and all, but no, I'm just kidding. I'm super proud of you, D, and I'm excited that you're here for me. This is a topic that's not going to make me super emotional. So we're going to get through this podcast without me dropping a tear. I want to just thank you again for being here, having this conversation with me. And I would like to start by us taking the statement where I'm from. I expressed in the last video why I came up with the Where I'm From podcast title. And we're going to take the statement where I'm from. And as you know, your girl got notes. So when you see me looking off camera, that's what I'm doing because I need to stay on topic. I like my journals and my notes. So we're going to take this statement where I'm from and sharing with our audience where we are from and how this has impacted our lives in any way. It can be a state like New Jersey, where we from, or or a mindset. So I'm gonna let you go ahead since you're on here. Woo!
I will say that, well, first, thank you for having me. I'm very honored to be here. Um,
You're welcome.
and so with that, I will say geographically, I was born in New Jersey. But I would say that if you were walking down the street and you were to ask me where I was from, I would probably say Georgia. Um, but
From Georgia?
yes.
Okay, perfect.
But I always do make the distinction that I was born in Atlantic City, New Jersey. Um,
Shout out to Jersey and Georgia.
right. Um, but then mentally, I will say, I guess I've never really thought too much about this, but I come from a mindset of moral aptitude. And what I mean by moral aptitude is attempting to always do what's right, even if, you know, society may say it's wrong, but always knowing that in my heart it is right. It's just and it's fair, um, even though society may have a different outlook. And not even usually all of society, probably like a minority, but it, yeah, not to say I do crazy things, but
Listen, you don't have to filter yourself because your mama's on the line, okay? We're gonna go ahead and just keep it all the way real here at Where I'm From Podcast. So you are a total adult, and I'm super proud of you. So you don't have to filter yourself, baby. But yes, I'm super glad that you are a human that wants to do right in this world because we need that. We need more and more of people, humans that want to do right and just want to, stay on the right path and just add to the world an abundance of positivity. And as I said before, the cherry is on top because I get to say that's mine. So tonight's topic is about imposter syndrome. And as I was doing my research to prepare for this wonderful conversation, I started to ponder with the imposter syndrome and what it means. So I have a couple bullets here that I'm just going to read for you all, and then we're going to expound on that as the episode continues on. But as I was doing my research, I started to think like, because I came into this topic like, I feel like I have I've had parts of imposter syndrome throughout my life. But as I did a little bit more digging into it, I started to realize that I don't necessarily feel like I have imposter syndrome when it comes to the area of feeling like I'm going to be exposed or I'm going to find out as being a fraud. So people who struggle with imposter syndrome believe that they are undeserving of their achievements and the high esteem in which others around them usually hold them to. Their peers and colleagues bring them praises and affirmations for their achievements, and themselves cannot see it for themselves. They self doubt a lot and can stagnate them from achieving their goals. So, this is the part where I struggle with. So, I felt like, okay, I had imposter syndrome, and I figure out ways to manage that. But then, as you get into where people who are experiencing imposter syndrome often worry about if they're going to be exposed as a fraud, they do not believe that they are qualified. However, in reality, they are totally capable of and qualified of carrying out the goals. So I am a high level achiever. Like I'm super high energy. I'm able to complete goals. I'm able to complete the task list. I used to struggle with feeling like that I was worthy enough of the positions that I was in or put in, even though I had worked so hard to get there. I didn't have high self esteem about myself. I had low self worth. I didn't see myself in the mirror. I didn't see myself as a leader. I didn't see myself as others had seen me. So that's the reason why I had felt like that I had suffered from imposter syndromes. So I had some parts of that. Again, I didn't really experience at all feeling like that people were going to find out I was a fraud because I didn't even feel like I was like in that type of position or that I was worthy of the success that I was experiencing. It felt very foreign to me. So do you want me to stop there and you can go ahead and give an explanation, or do you just want me to finish too and we can keep the conversation going like that? It's up to you.
well, I also would like to, add on to the conversation in the fact that imposter syndrome is very common in leadership roles. And so in my life, I just got done being the number one student leader on my campus, which was the student body president at Augusta University. I served in that role for 2 years, and prior to that, I served as a senator, which is a representative for the students, for 2 years as well. So throughout my whole entire collegiate journey, I was in some sort of leadership representative role, making sure that the experience that my peers were having was one that was up to par with the amount of money that we were paying for the actual experience. And so with that leadership always comes this idea of, do I belong in this position? Am I the right person? And I
Yeah.
think that, there have been times where I have felt, maybe I'm not cut out for this, but it never got to a point where I wanted to give up. And there are times when it can get to that point, and I do want to touch on that. And even though I haven't had that experience, um, I think one of the things that kept me from moving that far down the spectrum of just giving up the role was really understanding that, you know, I'm needed. This is an important role. I can't just quit halfway through because I have a job to do. Um, I not only was getting paid for it, but also, I still had a representative job to do, which was and that I signed up to do. And so when you're in those moments where you feel like you want to quit because you're not good enough, you have to remember that you're there for a reason. I mean, you didn't come in for no reason. You came for
Yeah.
a good reason, and it's important that you see that reason out um, in good faith. And adding on to that, I think that imposter syndrome, in my experience, there. I guess I will get into a I will provide an anecdote.
Okay.
Um, and this so um when I was moving into my junior year of college, I was turning 21. Um so yeah, I was turning 21. Actually, I believe I was no, 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 no. This was the summer right before. And I was turning 21, and me and a friend had smoked marijuana. And we
Hmm.
had smoked marijuana off campus, and we had brought the remnants back to campus, and this was in the summer. Um, and so when we brought the remnants back, they were left in my room. We moved out. A cleaner found them, and I was reported to the dean of students office. Now, this was integral to my experience because the day that I found out of this report was actually the first day of the academic year going into my junior year, and it was really my first day on the job as SGA president or the student body president. SGA stands for Student Government Association, but either way.
Yeah.
And this was the first thing I find out in the morning. He's also the advisor to the organization, and so we had this long drawn out talk. We talked about it. Of course, I owned up to it. It was an experience. I did my 30 hours of community service. In
That's
fact, I
right.
did I did two more. I did 32. But
Yeah,
either way,
I was tripping too. I was like, oh my gosh, like you really got caught. Like I was so nervous she was gonna get kicked out of school. I'm like, what is
I was
going
nervous
on?
too. But the idea that I bring this up is, Dr. Wallace, which was my advisor at the time, he he planted the idea in my head that I should tell the student government, that I was on disciplinary probation, and
I didn't know this part. It's juicy, honey.
on disciplinary probation for smoking marijuana,
All
and
right,
or having paraphernalia on campus of marijuana, because that's
all right.
also against student code of conduct. But um, and I didn't, because the idea was is I spoke around to the actual individuals in the SGA, and I'm gonna be completely frank. Most of them would thought that it would have been a waste of time, because we had a lot of business to get to, and then also a lot of them also participate in those activities.
Yeah, they
And
smoke
so
weed.
we're in college, and so
Yes.
but the idea he wanted to to put behind me was a great leader would admit their faults in public. Um, and not to say that
Okay.
because I'm not a great leader, but I say that, I didn't feel like it was anybody's business. And so moving forward, there were instances where I thought that maybe I could be found out, and that maybe there
Okay.
were instances that maybe I would be a fraud if people found out and they would try to impeach me out of my role and different
Yeah.
things like that. And that didn't really throw like that didn't really make me hide it or anything. It wasn't really a hide. If somebody asked, I would have told you. Um,
Okay.
but either way, it wasn't something that I thought was publicly shareable or should be shared because it didn't pertain to the success of our students. I was
Okay.
still doing my job. I was still doing it to the best of my ability. But I say all that to say that even when there are situations that may seem like, when you know you're in the wrong, you take you take accountability for your actions and you move forward.
Yep.
And you don't have to carry that idea of that I'm a fraud or people are going to find out because, I mean, there truly is nothing to hide.
Yeah. No, there truly is nothing to hide because you know what? Listen, look, like everybody humans, and we all just trying to figure it out here. We all just trying to put all the puzzle pieces together. And, but taking accountability helps you grow. So the next point that I want to touch on is that this is the part of my preparation for the conversation where my mind started to shift to the idea that I have had many moments of self doubt. Was I worthy enough of it? It's that wintertime, honey. I need some tea. So as soon as I get off here, I'm gonna give me some tea, honey.
Yeah.
I need some elderberry in here, honey. Some elderberry, elderberry. So I started to look at self doubt. It took me a long time and my trauma to really step into my power. So I tell my family now, right? Not to get off topic, but I tell them on this point, like, do not let so much trauma happen in your life before you really recognize that you are powerful. So my trauma, it took me a lot of trauma and a lot of life experience, a lot of lived experience in the street life, a lot of hustling, a lot of going back and forth to jail, a lot of courts, a lot of people dying, losing my spouse to suicide. It took a lot of trauma for me to experience. I mean, for me to have those and take those experiences for me to really understand that I was powerful. But before that, unfortunately, it took all of that. But before that, I had a lot of self doubt. I did not look at myself like I was a person. And I don't understand why, because I was always able to accomplish everything I set my mind to. Like even when I was living like that, I was a G. So that's how I feel. Like I didn't really master it because I went to jail, but I made sure that I got up every day and I took care of my business and I was powerful in that world. I was able to help myself get through that. And I'm here now and I'm powerful. The self doubt has become way less. I do have seconds of it, but fortunately for me, and we'll talk about this in future videos, that I have a massive amount of tools and family support that when that stuff comes up, I'm like, nope, I'm able to shift it out of my brain and see that I'm powerful. I begin to think about how imposter syndrome can lead to self sabotage. So before I move on to that point, D, do you want to talk about anything else that has to do specifically with imposter syndrome, or is it okay for us to go ahead and move right
We
into
can
self
transition.
transition? Yeah, into you said we can
Yes.
into because I know that you have a conversation piece that you want to talk to about that. So then I began to think about imposter syndrome can lead to self sabotage and becomes a toxic cycle of self hate. Self reflection and awareness is a tool to break out of this cycle. So just a little tip that I'm going to give you before we move on. I self reflect, I meditate, and I journal a lot. And I take moments out of each and every day to just reflect on what has happened that day, good and bad, and how I overcame it, how I managed it. Give myself a hug, give myself pats on the back, look myself in the mirror and say, girl, you got this. You handled that correctly, or how can you handle that better? As you continue to build those tools in your toolbox, the breaking out of the cycle of imposter syndrome and um self-doubt and self-sabotage will be an easier task for you. I have experienced really hard lessons with serious consequences, and I do not want you all to have that. So if I can just help one or two people, then that's amazing. So we're gonna move on into self-sabotaging, and I'm gonna go ahead and let Dee go ahead and take the wheel because I'm super interested in what you have to share with us all.
Awesome. So of course, I wanted to bring to this conversation a little bit about like my knowledge and expertise in terms of how our biological processes work in these situations of sadness, trauma, anxiety, depression. And so, one of the big things that I look to is a book that I read called Becoming Supernatural by a doctor who's also a neurobiologist of the name of Dr. Joe Dispenza.
All right.
And the book discusses how your neurochemistry and how your neurochemistry affects your patterns of thoughts, and how ultimately these patterns can form um, neural networks that
Mm,
lead you down those pathways to self sabotage. But the goodness about this book is they also teach you how to get out of that. And so
yeah.
those are some things that I want to share. And so, like I said before, this has to do with your body's neural chemistry. So these are just the chemicals that are being secreted out of your your cells.
Hmm.
Um, and so two of these known neurotransmitters is what they're called in neuroscience. Two of these neurotransmitters are known as, or hormones, are known as cortisol and adrenaline. I'm sorry, they're not neurotransmitters. They can be considered neuromodulators, but they are hormones, are cortisol and adrenaline. And so the importance of cortisol and adrenaline is what they do is they maintain your states of stress. And
Okay.
so let me discuss that real quick. So essentially, the cortisol pathway in the body is your body's natural response to stress. And so we have two ways that we think about this, which is fight or flight. And so fight or flight, typically you think about adrenaline, which is fight or
Yes.
flight plays a part in that as well. But also fight or flight, when that happens, adrenaline is how we are able to move, while cortisol helps us manage the movement, if that makes sense. So
Yes.
cortisol is the maintenance of the state, while adrenaline is the actual producing of the state.
Yes.
And so when we are stressed, we have adrenaline produced that makes us feel that stressed, but then we have cortisol produced that counteracts that stressness to make sure that our body is maintaining homeostasis. So homeostasis is that natural, perfect balance that we have in our resting state. So
Mm,
me, I'm in a homeostatic balance right now, I believe.
I'm in a
You are
very
also in a
strict
homeostatic
balance right
balance,
now.
right? So when cortisol is released by the brain, it then travels to the kidneys, to the adrenal glands, which are on top of the kidneys, and those produce sugar. They suppress the immune system, and they help the body manage that stress. And so, like I said, that's important because it's keeping the maintenance so that the body can get out of the fight or the flight situation that's going on.
Yeah.
And so once your cortisol reaches a level high enough, it then is able to stop itself from releasing through something called a negative feedback loop, but I won't go into that. So either way, it gets high enough, it can stop itself. Now there are times where our bodies will be um so what is the word so for lack of better, so filled with these neurotransmitters that they
Yeah.
will, sorry, I know the word, these neurotransmitters will saturate the body, and when
Yeah.
they saturate the body gets used to it. And so
Okay.
therefore, when more emotional states happen, the body has to thus create more of these hormones. And
Yes.
so the idea behind this is then that if we continue to feel these states, we are going to need to produce more and more cortisol to to manage that stress.
Yeah.
Now, let's think about this. What does this remind us of? This reminds us of an addiction.
Yep.
And so this is what I'm driving home is that as we continue to produce more and more adrenaline through these stressful traumatic states, that the first time we may not have caused. or even the second time, or even the third. But once our body gets used to that, then the fourth, fifth, and the sixth and the seventh time, it's probably our fault. And then that is the self sabotage. And so chronic stress can lead to that overproduction of cortisol, which leads to weakened immunity. So because we have more of the cortisol, um, those parts that would suppress the immune system, they start working overtime,
Okay.
and then they continue to weaken the immune system, and then of course you can have weight gain and anxiety.
Hmm.
Um, now
Which
of
are
course,
self-sabotaging behaviors because you're sabotaging your
and
health.
it's something
Mhm.
that in science we call a positive feedback loop, because that to us is just a spiral. It's
Yeah.
just a spiral that it doesn't end until
Yep.
there is something else there to make it end, but there's nothing itself that will make it stop. So it needs something else to come and interfere and make it stop. And
They
so
need something like what needs something else to come in and make it stop?
so when you have something that continues on that, so say if you have a traumatic event, you get
Yep.
used to this cortisol in your body, and you continue to have these traumatic events either through chance or through self sabotage. That
Yep.
anxiety that comes with that and continues to come with that is a downward spiral,
And
because
you
it will.
become addicted to it.
Yes.
Yes.
It's all just one big, it's all basically one big cycle, but it's
Yes.
a downward spiral because
Yep.
one thing is causing the next. It's like a domino effect.
Yep.
Until maybe you go see a therapist or a psychiatrist to get medication, or
Yep.
until you go see you talk to maybe, someone in your mental health community, and they help you, move along and be able to get rid of those feelings. But
Yep.
until something intervenes, it's going to be really hard. Now, Dr. Joe Dispenza gives us the wonderful concept that we ourselves can intervene. Um,
Yes.
and
We
this is
can.
important. And this is important because if we can do it ourselves, there's no reason to go see anybody else.
No, there's
But it
no reason.
really takes that conscious effort to create those thoughts, those new behaviors, and those new emotions. And so the idea is to continue to feel those new emotions.
Yep.
Now, that may be easier said than done, but
Absolutely.
let me put something in perspective. When people say like smiling makes you feel more happy. Now that is actually proven. A study found that if you smile, a certain muscle structure called the Duchenne marker has to turn up a certain angle, and that will produce I believe endorphins
Yes.
in your brain, which then thus makes us believe that smiling makes you happy, which
Yes.
is a plausible conclusion. But also, smiling, good vibes, and maybe, I don't know, buying coffee for the next person in line. These
Yes.
are things that are energetic, and they are good energy. And
Yes.
so the idea is that when we feel our emotions, um it's not just feeling sad, it's also allowing these chemicals to run through our body. And you have to think that these chemicals are structures, they are atoms, they are charged, they are not charged, but they all have energy. They're all moving energy. Like that's literally all they are.
Yep.
Um, and so as you build certain energetic levels, you are able to then control these certain hormone productions and different neurotransmitter productions because of the energetic level that you are, I guess, for lack of a better term, sitting on.
Yeah.
And I know that sounds more of like pseudoscience, but these are actually proven things. And logic thus follows that if an atom has an electrical charge, or even doesn't have an electrical charge but um has kinetics and vibrates, it then therefore has energy, because anything that vibrates needs energy to vibrate.
Yeah. It
And
needs
so,
energy to
and
vibrate.
everything vibrates, by the way. So therefore, everything has energy.
Yeah.
Um, so that is basically my spiel on that. But
Yes.
lastly, I want to give a quote that kind of ties this together, from an activist on self sabotage, Alice Cornan Selby, who said that self sabotage is when we say we want something and then go about making sure it does not happen.
Absolutely. Oh my gosh. Yes. Can we say that again? Say it again.
Alice Cornan Selby said, self sabotage is when we say we want something and then go about making sure it doesn't happen.
Okay. So we are going to elaborate on that. So I have to break out a self-sabotaging cycle. You can try understanding why you're self-sabotaging. That part is very hard because sometimes you don't understand because we're stuck in trauma. So it's like until we go into that inner child shadow work, figuring it out and that parts work that we do, we may not know why we're self-sabotaging. So many times I would find myself in these situations, making these choices, reacting in certain types of ways, ruining and self-sabotaging great opportunities and things in my life. Thank you. Thank you, God. To break out of self-sabotaging, you can practice self-compassion. As you start to heal and you're doing your shadow work, you can try to allow yourself the space to have compassion for yourself, for that little girl that was stuck in trauma, for that little girl that had that experience, for that little girl that was molested or wasn't protected by her family, for that little girl who was abused, or that little boy or that child was abused, or they're stuck in trauma. So when you start doing that, your inner child healing, you start doing the work, you can have compassion for yourself. And like DeAndre says, seeking professional help and looking for patterns in your life. The patterns in your life thing is continuously to be so huge for me. Couple examples is I grew up in a certain type of environment that where it was nothing for if you felt like somebody was playing around with you in your face, you put your hands on them. Like, and you're self-sabotaging relationships and you're self-sabotaging your own happiness because you got a smart mouth or you're physically abusive. And thank you,
Right.
universe, God, or whoever you believe in, for therapy and healing and inner child healing and shadow work, because that's the type of stuff that helps you dig through all of that dirt and get you up out of that for real, gets it up off you. So self-sabotaging, again, like DeAndre said, is a pattern when you have a negative belief system about yourself and then consciously and subconsciously as well. So self-sabotaging is when someone intentionally just like you said, intentionally interferes. And it's crazy because we don't even know we intentionally doing it. Oh, what's coming through me right now is the message is that sometimes we self-sabotage because we don't believe that we deserve to have happiness.
Yeah.
We don't believe it. We don't believe that we deserve to have success. We don't believe that we deserve to have these successful businesses, that we can get to the bag every day. We don't believe it. So we showing up to work late. We doing things, our work ethic sucks. So we self-sabotage in our career life, procrastination, forgetting deadlines, failure to prepare for important events, refusing to ask for help, setting unreasonable goals, comfort eating. Now you self-sabotaging your health. And now you're gonna get, not listen, no body shaming, but you want to eat healthy. We need to pay attention to what we put in our bodies. And I do not always do that. I'm super not perfect and I'm still a work in progress. So we're not going to say that we do that all the time. Self injury, such as cutting or drugs or alcohol. And I actually put cigarettes there because I have in and out struggled with nicotine addiction my whole life. I'll spend years without smoking. Something traumatic happens. And there you go again. It absolutely does not fit with my lifestyle. It's super disgusting. And that is a self sabotaging behavior, and we are going to stay away from that. Sometimes alcohol, drugs, shopping when you need to save and get out of debt, that's self-sabotaging behaviors. You don't believe that you can have $1 million in your bank. Yeah, so the list goes on and on. Like low self-esteem, fear of failure. So you don't put the effort into your business to manifest all the success that you deserve, and you truly, truly deserve that. I know I do. I know DeAndre, you truly deserve to continue to experience success. And I'm super happy about that. Feelings of worthlessness or incompetence, the belief, like I said, that you don't deserve the success, self hatred. Self hatred can be a self sabotaging behavior. And seeking comfort, this is one that's huge. This is where I'm going to drive my message on home for this episode. Seeking comfort in what fucking familiar. I have to. I'm sorry. Listen, we will put no kids in the thing. Cuss word can slip on in here every now and then. Seeking comfort in what's fucking familiar. Staying in toxic relationships too long and making dumbass crazy decisions over and over and over and over. This is another thing that I constantly been saying lately over the last year with experiencing all of the things coming from cancer, losing my partner, just trying to just stay focused on my business, starting this podcast. We make bad decisions over and over. And I told my dad the other day, I said, Dad, my family is hard-headed MF or AF or whatever the saying is, because we are literally, I have experienced this myself and I see this in my family. And I'm glad that we are breaking generational curses, because we are the family that has to put our hands on the stove when the mama and the daddy say it hot. Don't touch that. And then when we burn our hand, sometimes I'm gonna keep it on me. I do that shit again and again. And I expect for the results to be different, which is called insanity. which is called insanity. So seeking comfort in what's familiar, staying in that relationship too long, not choosing ourselves. Do you have anything else that you want to add to seeking comfort in familiar, staying in toxic relationships too long and making bad decisions consistently and expecting different results? Man, I got the lesson. I got it. We
Well,
here
I
now.
think that what you said was, I mean, what some people would say is the definition of insanity. Doing
Mm,
the same thing over and over again and trying to expect different results without at least changing one thing. Like if you change one thing, that's an experiment. But if you
yes.
don't change anything, that's insanity.
Yes. And I do feel like, and I'm sure you can agree with me because we've had many, many, many conversations here, because I get the behind the scenes DeAndre. I get to talk to him every day. Sorry, y'all. I get to talk to them every day, every day, every day, every day. I
I'm
get
so
to
done.
talk to them and I love it. But I feel like from my own experience and just continuing to heal through therapy, through my meditation, through connecting with family, through really being able to take time on a day, if not daily, on a consistent basis, to look at yourself and to say to yourself, this is what I went through. This is what I'm experiencing now. And you're doing a good job, self. You're doing a great job. You got up today. You went to work. You took care of your client's self. You took care of yourself, self. You made sure that you keep things around you, that projects and successful activities around you, and you pay attention today. Don't move too fast through life to where you don't take a second to really say and look at yourself and say that I'm doing a good job. And when I was locked up and I was in the halfway house, my counselor used to make me stand in the mirror and tell myself over and over again, you are worthy, you are loved. All these affirmations that I felt like was the weirdest shit ever, because I had never had nobody even like put me in a space like that. I did not believe that I was amazing. I didn't think that I was beautiful. This was like 12, 13, how many years ago? 14 years ago, 15, 14, 15 years ago now. I did not believe that I was any of those things, but I consistently did it until I believed it. And I actually did not really truly start believing that until the last 5 years, on how super amazing and powerful I am. And I'm super blessed and I'm super grateful to God and the universe and everybody for helping me stay on the right path, because it's been a journey. It's been a journey. And I'm super proud of you, D. I'm glad
Thank
that you
you.
came on here.
Thank you.
And
Thank you for having me.
yeah, I'm super happy. I'm super happy you mine. Woo! I know I'm crazy. But yes, imposter syndrome. You know, like when I was watching this TEDx, and I'm gonna leave with this. I was watching this TEDx, and the lady's husband, it was her and her husband, and they were on there, and it was a video about how she had imposter syndrome in her career. And she just would not move out of that job position, no matter how much they was disrespecting her. And her husband told her over and over and over and over for years. He gave her the space. He was supportive. Like, we can manage without you working, and you can find you another career job. And like, she was so broken inside that she just stayed there for years and years and years until she finally decided to quit. But she did not believe that she was worthy. So I actually want to double back, and we're not going to edit this because we're not going to do too much editing on where I'm from. We're going to be authentic and real. And I want, because I did not do the where I'm from. I only had you do the where I'm from. So
All right.
where I'm from is Atlantic City, New Jersey. And the mindset from where I'm from, I'll tell you where I came from, broken, lost, uh, and all of the above, broken, lost in the sauce. And where I'm from made me strong. That's the reason why I named this podcast Where I'm From. Where I'm from are the states that I've been in my life, not the United States, like the mindsets, the mind states. Coming from mindsets where I don't believe that I'm worth nothing. I don't even know what the next step is. I lived in a 4-block radius, like my partner used to say. I only knew what Atlantic City had to offer. I didn't know anything else. So when I moved out into the world and expanded my horizons and I started to learn, I had a period in my life where I was really mad at where I was from, where I came from, shit I experienced. Why was my life so hard? But you know what? Why not? Like, life hard, be hard for everybody. Like, life is hard for everybody. So it where I'm from made me strong. And I'm super grateful as I sit here today on my podcast with my wonderful guest on my episode 2, and say that where I'm from has made me strong. And I'm super grateful. I am a crying ass gangster because I will cry, and I will low key in my mind punch you in the face. I'm not going to do it in reality anymore, but I'm going to keep it in here. So, just give me my space, because we ain't trying to do no self sabotaging behaviors, because I ain't suffering from imposter syndrome no more. And I know what's going on. So you are super amazing. I'm going to give you a virtual air hug.
Oh,
Yes, because you are off in the world creating your life. I'm so happy for you. And
thank you.
until next time, you all, thank you for joining us. You could have been anywhere in the world, but you chose to be here with us. You chose to be here with us. And I'm super happy. Make sure you hit that like button, that subscribe button, share with all your friends. We have so much more, so much more, so much more about business, about health, about life, about love, about success, prosperity. I'm here to help you all walk on this journey, and just take a minute and think about where you from and where you want to go, and how where you from will help you get there. And until next time, like I said, like, share, subscribe, hit the notification button. And it's your girl, B.MARIE, and it is Deandre Mallory, and we out. Bye.